are about to hear the recorded audio diaries of Michael Swain, Adam Ganzer, and Abe Epperson, transmitted to you from another dimension through the wonder of podcast technology. Lost in the multiverse, they have to dig into a different piece of multiversal fiction each episode, in the hopes of finally discovering a way back to their reality. How do they know this isn't their reality? Because one of them is being a real asshole. Will our heroes ever make it home, or will they inadvertently explore our obsession with multiverses, alternate timelines, and parallel worlds, and tie it all into a conversation about postmodern art, pop culture, and what it means to be a human right now? This is Escape from the Multicurse.
Kiss your ants at the Space Jam. Sham on. Hey, everybody. In the words of Daffy Duck, it's getting so a guy can't even get himself wet around here. And I'm Michael Swain. Here with me are two of my very best pals, Adam Ganzer and Abe Epperson. Speak now in succession so that people can identify your voices, please.
This is me talking in the order I was asked to.
And I am the other guy, the last one named.
Yep, and they're them, respectively. And welcome to Escape from the Multicurse, a show that frankly, it was a lot of foresight on our part, I think, to bring the podcasting equipment as we journey through localized wormholes through an infinite web of possibility and alternate dimensions, always searching for a way home. And then somehow that is supposed to dovetail with the other part of the premise, which is that we find out we're not in our own dimension because something seems a little off. But this time, I think everything's good. Everything seems fine so far.
I just got to get back, man.
Well, you guys are like...
Yeah, I'm tired
doing
of it.
exactly what I say, like, you know, in the order I call on you. I think that's as it should be. I feel like I like this universe. I have a lot of status here so
taken.
far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also,
All right.
everyone should know that on this podcast, each episode, each universe, there's an asshole.
That's
and
true.
So I take copious notes of what people say and if they're assholes.
It's a tricky premise with this trio. It's a little bit of a tricky premise.
What's funny to me in retrospect is we've all made really clean things. Like Sketch is premise driven and it's usually clean, our style. We're not anti-comedy, right? Like Cracked was not weird. Like we tried to get tight, concise hooks.
Yeah, but mostly.
Not always, but usually us three especially. And I feel like, what is this? Or it made sense at the time. We're in alternate dimensions, but that makes one of us an asshole. Like it doesn't fully congeal.
It's airtight.
You're one of these
baby.
Question it after the fact kind of podcasters. I've seen you do it before.
When it deserves to be questioned. But today we are covering our next multiverse movie.
Yeah, I got it.
Shut up, Adam.
I'll do it.
You got it. Go ahead.
Disney's Space Jam.
All right. I guess Adam wanted to do it. That's fine by me.
He took it. That's
and he
fine.
did. And it's done. Space Jam. That's right. Because the third or fourth part of the premise, depending on how you count it, is that we're still podcasters, right? So we talk about multiverse movies because it seems thematically appropriate.
Way we can fight the future, you know.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And the past in this case.
Yeah. And I know I'm talking a lot, but can I start with a true story and then I'll shut up for quite a long time.
Is it
not the asshole?
Is it a true story about Disney Space Jam?
Oh yeah.
Great.
DSJ for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a DSJ warrior. It's about how I was prepping for this and watching Space Jam and having some theories pop up in my mind and thinking, have we already covered this? Didn't I already dispense these theories somewhere? And then it came back to me in a rush that one of the weirdest things I ever did when I lived in Hollywood was go to an event where a bunch of comedy writers sat and watched Space Jam in a private theater with Macaulay Culkin, who sat next to me, by the way, in order to shout out jokes like MST3K style so that he could write down his favorites and go to an event where he was supposed to be improvising jokes about Space Jam, and we were pre-writing lines for him to memorize and dispense as if he was coming up with them in the moment.
Wow.
And I mention it because a bunch of the same theories will come up today, but mainly, and this is how you know I'm the asshole, No, I'm not. It's one of the proudest moments of my life was I left that thing, and on the way out, another comedy writer came up to me and said, "You were so funny in there. Admit it. You had an event. You watched Space Jam already and thought of these lines." I'm like, so you think I got together with like my 3 comedy writer friends, watched Space Jam, and wrote stuff to say out loud to Macaulay Culkin so that I would impress him enough for him to go and say that stuff and pretend that he said it? Hollywood is fucking weird. That was probably the weirdest job I ever had.
And that writer was right. You did do that.
No, I didn't.
I was in the room. Yeah, you did. You paid me $20 to write jokes for you.
And not
Macaulay
discuss
Culkin.
it.
Oh
and
my
not
God.
discuss it.
You lied?
So that's my Disney's. That's my Disney Space Jam.
You
story.
lied
But
to you lied to Disney's
lied
Macaulay Culkin? I
I
can't even
did. I
believe
lied
that
to
shit.
Mac. I lied to Big Mac.
Well, I like the truth. I like that we're starting with truth. But what we need to do is we need to do what we set out to do, which is discuss this movie.
Get into format.
Yeah. So let's get into format.
Yeah,
This is
finally.
Portal Pals, and the show starts.
It's not Porta Pals. It's Escape from the Universe.
Sorry, Escape from the Universe.
That's right.
Yep.
So we're going to start with the multi-map, which are basically what are the rules in play in Space Jam? And is this unique in the multiverse story? So let's talk about that. I can go first.
Please.
What's
You do
unique
it.
about this multiverse?
You do it.
Well, unlike we covered last month, we covered the MCU universe. This one is a catalog, right? That's what I've determined. It's basically fiction is real and exists on their own planets. And this is, to me, actually like a pretty profound implication for the real world. It means that our thoughts can manifest life, real alien life. And it's also what, I don't know, I'm going to just call it like the Kingdom Hearts model or the catalog model,
Ooh,
because
great
I think
term.
we'll find a few of these along the way. But I guess I want to end with a question. If it's only limited by the human imagination, like unlike the MCU, which is just infinite because that's just how it is, as long as it's Warner Brothers developing the idea, does that mean that this universe is also infinite? Because I think it's anything that's Warner Brothers related, right? Literally anything.
If you're incorporating Space Jam 2 into this.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Yes.
Which I don't think we
This
should
is
yet,
Space Jam.
per se.
Okay, that's true.
So that's interesting because I would say that this is actually far more limited than the MCU, which kind of makes sense because it comes earlier. But your interpretation is totally valid too. Like, I can see what you're saying is anything Warner Brothers creates is implied to theoretically possibly exist in this universe for real, which means that's a countable infinity, right? They can always write more Looney Tunes. And when we see the stadium, there sure are a fucking lot of Looney Tunes. It does feel overwhelming, but I feel this on a gut level as 2 universes only. The Toon dimension and Earth, very much like Roger Rabbit. It feels like the central conceit is that being a cartoon is a job, and they log out and they're a union, etc., etc. Ripping off the classic Looney Tune with the fox and the hound who check out or like clock out at the end of the day. To contrast with Strange, where it feels like the point is that it's infinite in scope in a way that's scary and mind-boggling. This multiverse feels like the original, potentially the original, and Kingdom Hearts is so great. Just X plus Y equals more cash for this guy. Like, I really think it's the most, and actually it's Michael Jordan plus Looney Tunes equals, it's a crossover, right? Like it's using the multi-dimensionality of it all as an excuse for a crossover, which I know the MCU does as a matter of course, but that's not the primary function of that multiverse. Whereas in this case, I really think it is. It's Sonic meets Mario. Adam will appreciate this unless he's the asshole.
Yeah.
It's big, or it's Hulk Hogan passing the torch to The Rock or what have you.
A thing that actually happened at WrestleMania 18, I believe
16?
it was.
18?
I believe it was WrestleMania 18, and it's one of the greatest matches of all time. All of you should stop listening to this
It's the only
podcast
wrestling thing I've ever seen where I was like, all right,
and
this
listen
is
to
pretty epic.
It's
This
fucking
is cool.
great.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. Like Hulk comes all the way back for a very brief moment, and then we all remembered all the things he said. So we hated
But how
him again.
how did you think Space Jam skins the multiverse, Adam?
Thank you for asking. Well, ultimately, I think that this property made some of the rules about multiverses come into focus more for me. And that is that functionally a multiverse will always be a reduction of reality to focus on the one problem. Like that's actually the point of a multiverse, is that it's a flat image of a real world and not a real world. Like they literally have the problem in this movie of like, oh wait, we got to go to the 3D world, but we're 2D. A thing that's not represented that well in the film, but that's actually a pretty good metaphor for what I think is true about all multiverses, which is that they are actually 2D universes compared to the 3D one we live in, and they have to be that. They're that on purpose because they make it easier to palette the emotional problem that's being sorted out in the story. In this case, the emotional problem is that Michael Jordan needs to return to basketball. That's the only reason this is a movie in real life and in the movie. And this is actually a really interesting test case because if you really want to think about it, it's possible that you could say the movie itself is also a multiverse of our universe.
It's a promotional event that intersects with
Correct.
the real news.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it could, because it included things like his actual jersey number from his return, which was not the 23 we all remember, and it recreated scenes that happened in real life, like his press conference and stuff. So what that leads me to is that this multiverse has the problem of infinite regression, but in two directions we don't expect. The further out in space you go, the more universes you encounter. And the further in on Earth's surface you go, the more universes you encounter. Like, I do not believe that this Toon world is the only one. I think if you went in the ground of this Toon one, there would be others, according to the rules of this multiverse. So those are my initial thoughts. Also, they made this really great joke about what kind of Mickey Mouse organization would name their team the Ducks. And that made me realize this would have been much, much, much better if it had been made by Disney. Disney is just better than Warner Brothers at this stuff. So, So
It didn't even occur to me. I'm such a sheeple. I was like, yeah, Disney's Space Jam, whatever.
yeah,
It's Warner Brothers' Space Jam, bro.
but it
Should we
should have been
retake this
Disney's.
all?
No, but it should have been
Should we
Disney's.
stop down and retake?
No, it's okay.
Oh, that wasn't a mistake on your part? Okay,
I'm just
that's
saying it
weird,
should
but
have
whatever.
been Disney's. It should.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Abe, I think this guy's the asshole.
I think he's the
I think he's
asshole.
the asshole.
I mean, he's not wrong because then you got the Mighty Ducks, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I didn't even scan that as a joke because the jokes in this are so weak. I kind of stopped looking for them, but that is a
that's
joke.
right.
That's totally a joke. That's not
a
even
total
a bad
joke.
bad joke.
And it's a better joke in a Disney film, but that's neither here nor
Yeah,
there.
Disney would make a better version of that joke, and you would know that. But you're right.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Those are my thoughts.
Especially at this time.
Yeah, Abe,
Yeah.
I remember the intro or I think of a bit for the intro. You remember what the show's about. What do we do next?
Verses on Verses.
Oh yeah.
Where we all just, we just chat for a while and we
Great.
and we say our piece, and find out who's the asshole before we close this wormhole.
Ideally.
You guys.
Ideally. I
there's
think
so much to be said, yeah.
Abe is lying low right now.
It's Abe's turn, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Abe is lying really low.
That's right.
Kick us off.
When for the first time, I think after watching Space Jam 2, rewatching Space Jam 1, I don't know if I'm serious about this, but I think what we have on our hands is Warner Brothers is doing a deep level metaphor, and it always has. Let me explain. Like Acme before it the motivation for hatching a scheme, which is the setup of the movie, breaking the barriers of the worlds, the idea of entering Looney Tune land and, taking Jordan from Earth into Looney Tune land in order to play this basketball game with these aliens who are essentially being told by they're called the Nerdlucks. They're these tiny assholes who are run by this guy, Mr. Swackhammer, who's played by Danny DeVito, who's just this asshole. He has a
Incredible name.
property called Moron Mountain, and it's a theme park, and no one likes Moron Mountain anymore, so he needs a new investment. He needs a new celebrity.
Yeah.
He needs something to make this happen.
Speaking of Disney, by the way, he is just Hades from Hercules.
Absolutely.
Like, same
He's-
relationship to his minions who act exactly the same as
Yeah.
Bobcat Goldthwait.
but less fun. You know what I mean? Just like
And
less
so-
fun.
little
yeah.
less fun.
So he, in some level, is a part of the guardians of the multiverse in a way. He understands the ebb and flow better than humanity does about how they can kind of overlap, and he's able to see clearly exactly how the machinations of the physics between the worlds exist, so they can take advantage of it. And he's wholly motivated by the hoarding of resources and intellectual property. Also, they're the only game in town in this universe that we're aware of. So Warner Brothers is God, frankly. His angels demand money. What I'm getting at is that I think that Warner Brothers is making a kind of critique of capitalism. The movie shows that the only way to break the system is Michael creating a side bet with Swackhammer. My point is that the solvency comes from the workers standing up for workers and literally throwing their bodies on the
interesting.
gears until it stops. It's a Marxist critique of capitalism.
I completely
my
agree,
thought.
and where that really resonated for me, we do overlap there. I have a bunch of, I guess, lighter theories, I would say,
Mhm.
like a little shotgun blast of. But one thing that really resonated for me is there's a lot of slavery image in this movie, which is
Yeah.
an odd
That's true.
choice through modern eyes. But I actually think in its bumbling around that issue, it says something really resonant. There's a line where Bugs says, "To an African American man," which is pretty condescending. "You don't understand. We're going to be locked up like wild animals and trotted out to perform for aliens," which you can compare so readily to the African slavery experience and even the modern experience of the trope that, Chappelle talked about it in the past. But it's often talked about where it's white supremacy only allows you out of these inclement circumstances if you rap, sing, or play basketball. That's one of the routes out for young African American men. And this movie is kind of commenting on that, and it can't be intentional. Because you can tell throughout the whole movie, no one cared enough about this movie to have it have a message, right?
I mean,
Do you think
to that
It's
point?
a critique?
Well, it's not an intentional critique.
Intentional critique? Yeah.
To that point, Bill Murray actually was only supposed to be in the one golf scene, but just decided
Mhm.
he wanted to be in the movie more. So
He
they
wanted to be in a
added him-
basketball game?
They added him to the third act after they'd shot it. So I don't think this movie is organized around an intelligent critique, which is a thing that they would have done if it had been penned by somebody at Disney.
At
I'm just telling
Disney.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I see. Okay.
I see. I see what you're
think
doing.
this dude's a Disney bitch.
Well, hold on. I don't think. And here's my thing with my thing about the critique of capitalism is that I don't know what it's saying. I don't think it's intentional in the way that most movies are intentional when they make a deep-seated metaphor. But there's something here. I don't know what it is. I don't think that they're even cognizant of it, but every time a Space Jam comes around, it's clearly saying we are the villain.
We're evil.
We-
Yeah, right.
We
Warner
are
bad.
evil. Warner bad. And it's we're not listening. And I know that's more emphasized in Space Jam 2, which I'm sure we'll cover later.
They want to become.
But it's very clear here as well. It's
No, you're not wrong about what you said. But I feel like if they really wanted to go all the way with that critique, they also would have pointed that lens at the basketball a bit more, and they would have had more. They would have had more Lakers in it. You know what I mean? Like, because the Lakers represent that. No, but wait. I'm serious. The Lakers represent that sort of like capitalism gone drunk piece of basketball.
A little bit.
Yeah, and like they would have organized it around Magic instead of Michael Jordan, which would have been a better movie anyway.
Showtime.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Thank you.
And
I just wanted to hear you say that.
And I also love that you try to sneak in Lakers as many times as
Didn't
you can.
try to.
when we
It just
talk.
it bore a
as
comparison.
the third man, which I'm always trying to sneak into conversation, I want to point out that everyone listening to this should probably go ahead and listen to the phenomenal Director Piece Theater hosted by Abe and Adam about Josie and the Pussycats. But it reminds me of that situation where the movie seems to be saying its own self is the thing that it's commenting upon the problem that it is. Like, and I think that follows through because you're right. Like if
It's
Warner
chaos.
Brothers Incarnate was going to be anyone in this film, they would be morons, Moron Mountain. And if they were going to be anyone in the second one, they're analogous to Algae Rhythm, right? Literally, the film you're watching is a soulless algorithm putting elements together that they think you'll probably like because of the stats behind it, which is fascinating.
It's clear that this project, well, first of all, it existed in 1993 before he retired from basketball. And then when he retired, they dropped it. So, like, it's clear that this project only existed for Michael Jordan's career, like to enhance in
His
some way his
comeback.
career. Well, and to be a sort of companion piece to
It
whatever.
was a vanity project both times.
Yeah, and
Both
when I
times.
say
Yeah.
vanity project, I think like it's literally supposed to be a companion project, like a statement about his career, and also perhaps like a new like revenue stream, maybe even. Like I think
Right.
that's the idea here, and to wit, like the plot
It's
of
so evil.
well, it's very much a money making enterprise, and like to wit, it's like a way of Michael Jordan admitting that he knows that he wasn't good at baseball, so he's allowed to go back to basketball now.
Right.
I think he probably wouldn't.
Nothing, by the way, nothing proves you're down to earth like making a huge blockbuster movie about how everyone sucks your dick all the time, but you're really down to earth about it. Like,
Right.
He's Michael Jordan.
yeah. I know.
He is Michael
but
Jordan.
He's like,
that's right.
he's like, I know I'm not great at baseball. It's all right. I have a good sense of humor. Trademark. Michael Jordan.
Have you ever heard Michael Jordan speak? He's not normal. He believes he's a god.
He doesn't actually. I don't think he could have admitted it in a straight movie where he wasn't being sucked into a different dimension. In fact, they don't admit that in the real dimension in this movie. They admit it in the cartoon dimension. That's the only people that can stand up and say, like yeah,
he'll only confide to cartoons.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm bad at baseball.
correct.
You remember that? You remember at the end of the movie where MJ gets the ball with all the souls or the talent in it, and
just touch it.
Ewing
says.
and Barkley and all of the
Yeah.
all of them get their powers back. 100% in real life, the real MJ would not give
No
those
chance.
back.
No
would-
way
Oh
he
yeah,
would've
he
done
gives
it.
him the competitive edge against a bunch
Right.
of rivals.
Exactly.
Yes.
This is why the movie should have been about Magic, because
Oh,
Magic
man,
would have
yes.
absolutely. First of all, he's an assist champion, and he would have made sure that everybody got their share of the ball. That's who he is. You know what I mean? The metaphor would have worked better. Just pointing that out.
No, go the other way harder. The movie should end with Michael Jordan cutting open the ball, inhaling the power from inside, and
dust.
just being unstoppable, like dunking so hard that people are
Dunking
maimed for
so
life.
hard.
Yeah, the kind of thing that you might see in like Snow White. You know what I mean?
Right.
The kind of thing that a great witch would do. Yeah.
Like I want to unpack a little bit more about the slavery aspect about this.
Sure.
Because
you do.
Looney Tune Land itself is kind of a hell dimension. I want to talk about, I mean, something that's par for the course for Bugs Bunny is that at the Looney Tunes world, Bugs breaks the fourth wall a lot, right? He just does this normally, but implies that this is an aware universe, that it knows that its only reason it exists is to please us, the viewers in 3D land, which is the real world, right? This is all canon, by the way.
But what's
3D
weird
land
is
what they call it.
You have to go through a portal to reach Toontown, but we just pan up from Earth to Moron Mountain and
Yes.
to the alien life
That
that
was
is also
strange.
animated.
Yeah.
So the reason I really do think this qualifies as a multiverse without question is Bugs, in the grand tradition of, Groucho Marx to Bugs Bunny to Deadpool, you can track that
Right.
line. He acknowledges us. The original
Us,
multiverse
yeah.
is the audience's universe, right? That's the original multiverse. And then you've also got more on Mountain. By moving through space, you can get to a cartoon land. And then you've also got Toonland, which you have to go through a portal to get to. They do seem distinct to me.
They're very distinct. But in the case of Looney Tune Land, they know they're slaves. Their lives are a play for our entertainment, and that alone, right? And so this means that Warner Brothers is creating a system where we, the audience, are culpable in the greatest crime against sentience, right? Warner Brothers basically points out that they're the villains and that we are the audience, villains with them.
There's also a part where the Porky Pig calls a cartoon meeting, and as Michael Jordan's kids watch TV, the cartoon breaks down because the Roadrunner and Coyote are needed at the union meeting.
Right.
This implies that anytime anyone's watching a cartoon, these are actors who are having to work. They're performing. They're Krusty the Clown stuck on TV because Bart won't let them stop.
Yeah, that's true. Or that TV is a real-time portal into their experience. Or both, actually. Like that we're sort of Truman showing the Tooniverse. Right? Like
Yeah. Also, to the previous point, remember how there's a little runner about one of Michael Jordan's kids is unhappy because they're not good at baseball, and the resolution to that runner is that they see Michael Jordan descend in a spaceship and hit a home run, and they give him a thumbs up. Like,
yeah.
The resolution to their problem is, shut up, Michael Jordan's here.
I have a theory about that,
Yeah.
actually. Which is that all of this is a mental breakdown of Michael Jordan.
Right.
Like, it all happens right after he turns... Because if you watch the movie, his kids are watching Looney Tunes, right? You just
And
cited
holding
how
a Bugsy plushie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm saying right after that happens, we've just got a series of scenes where he's unsatisfied with his recent baseball success, and he's seeing himself on the news go from the most popular athlete of all time to a joke, and he basically has a break and enters a dreamlike fugue state where his brain recalls all the recent visuals to populate his nightmare.
But where would the Monstars have come from? Is that how he views?
They're all in his brain.
Like
Like
basketball players.
This
Right,
this
but where do
movie
you
is
see
just
them?
him on the ground shaking.
Right. They do seem like they could be a way of him abstracting rivals' talents, right? Like, because like the people that they steal talent from, like they don't steal it from Scottie Pippen or Dennis Rodman, his teammates of the era, like or Tony Kukoc. Like it's all people that he played in the finals or in the playoffs at some point. You know, so meaning like, it's his way of abstracting the people he dislikes. Yeah, his enemies. Exactly.
You're telling me that it's not to be taken as literal fact that his dog Charles Barkley can calmly and casually knock a door off its hinges?
Well, I mean,
Remember that?
I do.
Fucking bulldog just like nuzzles its head against the door, and the door slams down like a Murphy bed.
They were shooting that thing like it was the Blob too. Like they were really tight.
And he keeps
on it.
changing size. Size is so fucked up in this movie.
Yeah.
They say that Lola's 3'3" and Bugs is 3'4". 3'4". Bullshit. 4 foot with the ears, they say. Look at him next to Michael Jordan. He's like 4.5 to 5 feet easily. Anyway.
It's
Get the fucking stat
My
boy out
point
here.
is-
Get him out
My
here.
point is, dude, Disney animators
Get him out
would
here.
have measured
Michael
that
the
shit
asshole.
out. Disney animators would have kept the
They
scale
would've.
clean and tight.
There's no
That's
doubt.
what they do.
There's no doubt.
I knew I
Wait.
could win you over with that
Wait,
argument.
no, Disney observations have hopped over to Michael? I don't know how to deal with this.
Oh my
Maybe
God,
I
I'm
am the
infected.
asshole.
Yeah, why aren't you weird
This
yet,
is
Abe?
our-
You're an asshole, bro.
Yeah. if this is the reality, I don't want it. Yeah, I think Looney Tune Land is also a hell dimension because it's underground.
That's interesting.
You need help from inside to get in, which is like a big thing. Like you mentioned Hades before, known Disney property.
Yeah,
Hades.
about hell. Yep.
Yeah, about hell. Like you have to get some form of help from inside. And
Right.
everyone inside is enslaved, which is a common, presentation of hell. They
True.
love their masters, even though that they've been branded by them. Daffy at one point presents his ass, and it has
And it's sewn
Warner
into it, a
Bros.
Warner Brothers logo.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
And
I'm
he
like,
kisses.
what is-
And he eats his own ass, which is a kind of porn I never knew I wanted till now.
That's true.
Imagine if Mickey did it.
Wild movie.
Mike, imagine if Mickey
Yeah.
did it. Ooh, that's some shit. All right, go ahead.
My bottle.
Question about the held portal.
Yeah.
Did you imagine that anywhere you dig down into the earth, if you dig deep enough, you hit the hell portal? Because Bugs walks back to Pass Wayne Knight at the same golf hole as if that particular spot on earth is like the best way to Toontown. Like, is it just chance and serendipity that Michael Jordan was golfing at a hole that leads to Toontown? Or is Toontown the entire core of the hollow earth? What do you think?
There is another data point,
Yeah.
which is that Bill Murray gets down there and he says that as he gets down, Michael Jordan asks him, how'd you get here? He says, my producer knows a Teamster who got me here.
Right.
So either the joke is that Teamsters are all Looney Tunes, or there's other back ways into hell, which to me, to answer your question, would mean it's not the only place. It doesn't all go to one place. It's more of there are portals everywhere. You just have to unlock them with the right magic.
Well, and that
So
is
kinda
fascinating if you
Narnia
apply
situation.
it to. Oh yeah, and it applies to the various Looney Tunes, right? Like they're all kind of Sisyphean. Like, for sure, the coyote is in hell. For sure, Tom of Tom and Jerry is in hell. These are personal hells. Like most hooks of Looney Tune character setups are at least one of them. It's like an exquisite torture for them, right?
Yes,
Right.
always.
Like Fudd. Fudd's
Except
not
like
having a
Bugs
good
and
time.
Roadrunner.
No.
Yeah.
No, except for the one
Even
where he was in the
Bugs-
opera. He seemed like he was happy in the
He
opera.
was all right.
Yeah.
He was
When he
alright.
got to express himself more through his clothing choices than he
Well,
usually gets
plus
to, yeah.
plus the Wabbit died. I mean,
The
that
Wabbit.
that
Well,
had,
the
that had to feel
Wabbit.
good at the end.
The only one that seems to enjoy, I mean, we don't really get, maybe he thinks it's torture because he doesn't speak, but Roadrunner is the only one who seems to
Have a great
always
time, yeah.
have a great time and
But-
never has any conflict.
What if he's fully sentient and cannot express himself except by saying
Right.
"Meep, meep"? Like that
And
would
what if
be a
meep meeps
torture.
are actually the cries of him saying this is actually torture.
This
for
is
me,
torture.
you know?
I'm running from a predator that wants to eat me alive. It doesn't
But
catch me, but still.
He can.
This is my life.
He can hold up signs that have words on them if we accept.
That's true.
If we
It all
accept
falls
all
apart.
of the
He hasn't,
tunes,
he
as
hasn't
canon.
cried out for help.
Yeah,
He never held up a sign that said, "Please kill me, let it end, please."
we didn't see that episode.
But he should
at
have.
least. Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't see it. They would never allow that on Disney. So
Meep,
can I just
meep.
say really quickly on the trail that you're blazing here, Abe? So
Yeah.
I think I still maintain that what you're saying is true and that it's accidentally true. Like that they're accidentally implying that that life here is actually hell, like this is a version of hell. But I think that's the problem that all multiverses have, is that like anytime you get too far away from the reality we live in, the hell of it starts to emerge. You know what I mean? Like because ultimately we want a short trip into the multiverse and then to come back to a closed wormhole at the end, right? That's
Bob's
what people
Burgers
want.
would be fine.
Okay, well that's one worth looking at. But I'm just saying, like,
One of the more mundane cartoons, though. Yeah.
well, I just mean this, like, this is the belief of the creator of these artworks, right? Like they believe ultimately it's about sort of restoring the status quo at the end. Only the problem you went there to deal with is resolved. The hero's journey of it all, right? What I think is interesting about this particular one, in conjunction with what Abe said, is part of the reason it's hell is because the tunification of things eliminates consequence and keeps them in sort of a permanent state, right? Like
Which is also true of hell, right? Or at
presumably,
least some
I mean,
depictions of
it's
hell.
sort of all dressed in this wackiness, right? Like it's dressed in this the magic of it all. But the weird part of it is like that every time you go into one of these universes, like the Toon universe, it feels like the only reason there are ever stakes is because everyone agreed to this bit. You know what I mean? Like they could have just said, no, we're not gonna go with these weird alien bugs, and like, would that have really stopped anything from happening? You know, right? Like when they can literally manipulate time and space for a bit, why is there a basketball game? Why did anybody agree to a basketball game? You know what I mean? Like I don't.
because it's the combination of elements of the greatest things to make money.
Yes,
everything
absolutely.
is decided by money.
Absolutely,
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
But keep him like, so that also raises a similar question to that point is Yosemite Sam is presented as fully healed from the alien laser blast a day later. Why do they fear the aliens at all?
Yeah,
They
Foghorn
shouldn't.
Leghorn is literally
They're
turned to ash
intangible
and
and
within
immortal.
minutes.
Right.
there's-
They can be turned to ash and back. It doesn't matter.
There's no stakes. And the thing that's interesting about this particular outing is I feel like in a way this is a kind of like you're calling it hell, right? But you could also say from Michael Jordan's point of view, this is also like a kind of baptism. You know what I mean? He's like sort of being baptized into tunification, which has let him reach the
He becomes a
ultimate
toon
level.
by the end.
He's a dimensional
Right.
traveler now, so he's the
Dulcim
pilgrim
at the end.
He's the pilgrim in Dante's Inferno.
Yes, which is to say it's
or Dulcim.
or exactly
Dulcim.
Dulcim. Ooh, if we'd done this as Street Fighter. Oh, if he joined the Street Fighters, that's a movie. Disney could have made that.
None of these are Disney.
They could have been though. The point is that so again, let's remember the point of this movie is for Michael Jordan to come back to basketball better than ever, right? So like in the baptism metaphor, he's submerged under the earth, right? Born again with toon powers that he's now able to literally bestow boons back to the people he's going to beat on the basketball court. Like he's literally reached another level. He can fly now. Right? That's the point of this. So it's actually like you're saying it's hell.
I believe he can fly.
Right.
Yeah, if I recall.
Why didn't that note why didn't that song come on right as his arm was stretching, by the way? Didn't that make the most sense? And it didn't happen there. And it was like, why not?
Now my arm's really long. I liked I don't know why because they also did Learning to Fly, or they did another Fly song, and I was like, oh, they should have every Fly song. Like his arm stretches out and it's like, I just want to fly.
Ooh, Sugar Ray should have written the music for this.
Get all those flies in there.
Jesus, that's true. That would make
Jar
more
of
money,
Flies,
right?
Alice in Chains tracks in there. Ooh, that would be bad. I'd like that.
Pretty fly for a white
Here's
guy.
the thing about his magical
Perfect
powers,
for
or
a Michael Jordan movie.
the idea of humans getting powers when they cross the threshold of Looney Tune land. There's a huge plot hole I never noticed, which is that in order to solve the movie, the thing you're citing, the long arms, where he's like, oh yeah, I just have to think more like a toon.
Toonify, right?
Because I can toonify comes as a realization at halftime or whatnot, or in the final moments of the basketball game, and he already experienced in like Act 1, like early Act 2 or Act 1.
He got folded up in a ball.
He got bones crunched.
Right. He got
and he got
Correct.
made a basketball by the monsters
Correct.
to play with, and he screams in terror. He remembers that event, and then he realizes he's fine. He must have thought about that.
All learning is
So, I don't know.
arbitrary
I
in
just pointed that
Tooniverse.
out.
That's why it's actually hell,
Okay.
right?
So
Is that you can't hold on to the information. The
Right.
information slips right in and
It's
out of your
all
mind. Because
so
otherwise,
good.
that's the only way it works. Because otherwise, the government would descend upon Toontown and be like, we are functionally immortal if we are able to live here. We're
Right.
invading this area.
It
You
would-
don't have
it
to
would
worry
be
about climate
horrifying
change.
It'd be
Fuck.
fucking Half-Life 2 down there immediately. That's what would be happening.
Yeah, exactly. Drilling down
Damn,
to
dude, this
Toontown.
just turned into a horror movie where the biggest bad, the strongest villain, the worst conflict comes from yourself.
Right.
You can't trust yourself
Mhm.
to hold memories.
That's a real
Oh,
problem.
That's
But
dark.
can
dude.
we just take a moment? I'm sorry, and I know I'm the only one that cares about this. Can we just take a moment to laugh at the fact that Michael Jordan has bothered to try to like whitewash all of his like problems as a player in this movie, including
Yeah, he really addressed it all.
including he's bad at leadership and team, like he's a bad teammate. He's bad at leadership. He's got a gambling problem. He thought he was better at baseball than he was. You know, like just all these things are all plot points that he just skates right past and learns on the way back to
It's like-
basketball.
It's perfect because it's also, you can tell the exact level of humility that like the screenwriters were allowed.
Yes, absolutely.
That was like dialed in probably by him. And so it reveals a lot of the insecurities. Some are sorer moments than others. And that really, I think sometimes the jokes that are allowed I think, tell the tale of what MJ was allowing to happen. And you can see which insecurities really bothered him. You know, like the baseball one is they love that one because he's like, yeah, I was probably wrong about that, because baseball, that's kind of arrogant, but you touch his legacy, his basketball legacy, MJ's not going to allow it. You know, that's just not happening.
Right. And again,
that.
he even worked his dad into this, right? Because that's another part of that story that's a little bit grim.
Right.
Like, it's definitely him. That's what I mean when I say baptism. Like, it's literally him absolving himself of all the problems he had before he came back.
And it's good Dad
basketball.
pushed me. It's good.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
There's a lot
Right.
there
The victor
too.
presents the history the way they want it, right? I mean,
Well,
it's his money. He's the show. He gets to tell his story how he wants.
Again.
And it has cartoons in it.
That's why, again, we should have picked Magic. It would have been a more likable superstar. But aside from that problem, that's why the multiverse always has to be an unreal place. Because this is how movies work, and we all know this, right? Like, the point of a movie is for somebody to grow past an obstacle, and then they become a better person. That's every movie, right? So, like, every time we go into the multiverse, it can't be as complex as the reality you left behind, because then you wouldn't be able to easily dispatch with problems. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be able to overcome the problems, right? Because they would be as complex and difficult as they are here, which would have, if we could have dealt with them here, we wouldn't need a multiverse. Right. So, like, that's the hope of the multiverse, is that it's kind of a flat, easy circle.
I like that idea because I especially like the idea because you're presenting dimensionality pretty well, which all of these multiverses do, is they talk about parallel dimensions. Dimensionality and multiple universes appear to be the same thing to the, pop culture and mass, like that's how people understand them, as the same thing, even if they're not. And what's interesting is that they usually use the metaphor in movies, and at times when they have to describe real quickly, like, what do I mean by another dimension? If we talk about a fifth dimension or a fourth dimension, it's usually like, imagine ourselves as 2D and we're 3D. 2D can't conceive of 3D. But 3D can conceive of 2D.
Exactly.
But Abe,
right?
they are 3D, and you can tell because the way they made it look like the animation is quote unquote better than on TV in the 50s and
Is by
60s.
shading it. Yes.
They have a single
shading it.
stripe of shadow on the side of them. Yeah.
But that's shading. That's not dimensions.
It's
That's
lazy
just
as shit.
resolution.
I actually find, and this is neither here nor there, but it does bother me as a fan of animation, the directing and blocking of the animated sequences is really boring and flat. Like,
Yeah.
it is nowhere near as inventive as actual Looney Tunes used to be. Like, the most egregious example, I think, and this is actually content as well, but it does both, is that moment where they're in the gym, speaking of rolling him into a ball, and they're training, the training montage. Roadrunner, this is a classic bit, right? But they fuck it up in a way that pisses me off so much. The Roadrunner bursts through the wall with the coyote watching him. Then the coyote chases and hits the wall, and the hole magically reveals that it was a painting. That's not
Right.
the fucking bit. The fucking bit is the coyote paints the hole himself.
Right, exactly.
So he knows his intention is, wait,
He'll
that's
capture.
impossible. I just painted that, and the Roadrunner really went through it. This makes it seem like the Roadrunner just fucks you by magic. Like, it's not.
Also,
it shows no
yeah.
understanding of the brilliance of Looney Tunes, which I really think there is.
Right, because Roadrunner is never a schemer. He's always just
He's innocently
gets
doing what he's
through-
doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
he gets through it perfectly just because he's Roadrunner. The schemer is the
Acme,
fucking
bro.
wolf.
Yeah, coyote.
Yeah.
Wiley.
So yeah, it's that's true. That does fuck that up. I cried during this movie.
This time
Mhm.
or the first time?
Did you drop something on your foot, or are you the
Yeah, yeah,
asshole?
yeah.
What's the deal?
Yeah.
Why?
No, it's just I just thought it was really good.
I could have had more Cedric Sabalas time, honestly. You know, we just didn't get a
I
lot
don't know what that is.
of. He was a player that was featured, but not heavily enough. I would
Okay.
argue. Could have used a little
Dude,
more.
Wayne Knight also gets zapped and survives. It
Well,
doesn't
thank
seem
God.
to.
National
Yeah.
treasure, Wayne
Yeah.
Knight.
But he's in Looney
He gets
Tuneville, so I
inflated.
guess the implication is while you're there, you are functionally immortal. You are a Toon while you're there, right? Anyone.
Right.
That's
Right.
the question. Is like if you brought Bugs back to planet like topside,
Could you
of planet
shoot
Earth,
him in the
could
heart?
you murder him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could he be murdered?
Right.
That's a real question.
Like for science.
For science,
science.
I must shoot you in the heart.
Like,
yeah.
it could Elmer, in theory, trick Daffy and Bugs up to the surface and finally kill them both. Could that happen?
That'd be
Well,
lovely.
Roger
I'd love to
Rabbit-
see that.
Roger Rabbit tried to solve this, but
Mhm.
that's a
The
different
dip, yeah.
property. Yeah.
But you realize covering this means we get to cover Roger Rabbit someday. Because
I guess.
it's a
Is
multiverse
it?
by the same rule, I would say.
I guess you're right.
I
yeah.
And it has that. I hate to bring Duchamp into it as I always do.
You don't hate that
But
at
it's-
all.
do
You
too
love
often.
it. Go ahead.
It wraps in that Dadaist thing because it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a
yeah.
combination of two elements. I think we forget that something that is truly, I'll say it, brilliant about it, or like weirdly visionary, because it was a huge success, is the idea of mashing up two things that fucking have no right to be together, which Duchamp did, and it launched a whole very serious art movement by taking a urinal and putting it on a museum wall and calling it the fountain. And people are like, but sir, you can't do that. That's filthy. And he's like, yeah, because it's right. Everything's context. It's just the contrast of a thing you would never see in a fine art museum on the wall in a fine art museum. Fuck you. That was like punk at the time. And I think there's something punk about a combination as nonsensical as, I don't know, the most famous athlete in the world and these fucking kids' cartoons.
But it's not.
It's like, why don't the founding fathers meet the Ninja Turtles? Fine. Who the fuck cares? Like, why not?
But it's not. There is an invisible hand.
What is the invisible connector that you think makes this a sensible
Money.
combination?
It's 100%
But then,
capitalism,
then
right?
I can say, let's do a crossover between Garfield and Elon Musk, and I would love that. They both have money, like they both have profit around
That's
them.
more Dadaist than Space Jam, though. Space Jam is a very
I think you're just used to it.
intentional.
I think it is Dadaist.
I think
I don't think it's Dadaist.
I remember
think
it
it's
being like a pretty bold decision to merge properties like this at the time. Now, of course, it
Yeah, do you not
seems-
find that bold and zesty, Abe?
I mean, it's bold for sure.
I mean,
But it's
no Mary Poppins.
I mean, you're
you know?
right. The smashing together of elements was pretty typical at this point, or not typical, but like in vogue, I guess is another way of saying it. But like, I don't know, the mashup, and it's especially like, here we go again. We're still doing the same thing.
Mhm.
We're gonna get we're gonna get Smash Up as the next. I think that's gonna be like the MCU like next phase, is that there's gonna be a DC MCU kind of thing
Yeah,
that happens
that
way off in the
seems
distance.
obvious that that's coming.
When are they going to just make a thing you can buy that's a big tub of Pepsi and Coke mixed up together?
Well,
how's
Just
that not
mixed up
happen?
together.
Yeah.
Right? Why can't we be friends?
That's right. I feel like also Warner Brothers was kind of looking to have its own like Mary Poppins, like those live action mergers,
Right. Cool worlds. Your cool
Yeah,
worlds.
your Cool's World. By the way, Mary Poppins, that's one we should talk about, right? That's a metaverse. That's a multiverse.
Wizard of Oz. We'll get
Yeah.
into a lot
That's
of
true.
stuff.
Absolutely. They
Holy
were trying
shit.
to get, I mean, Michael Jordan's no Dick Van Dyke, but it's as close as Warner could get,
Yeah. Daffy is briefly Rodman as well. So Rodman is at least
noticed
referenced the specter of Rodman. Yeah.
I noticed that.
The minions turn into spectral goo and enter the players to seal their powers. And no one notices the goo. So that means when they're in goo form, they're invisible? Is that right?
So can I
think it has to be
can I
invisible.
pitch you a
There's
different
cameras
theory on
everywhere.
this? Can I pitch?
And then my other question was, the talent doesn't go directly into them. It goes into a ball. Does the locus of power have to thematically match the talent you stole? Meaning, does basketball power have to be stored in a basketball? Or could I store basketball talent in a hockey puck?
Here's my argument for this. It actually does affect this.
Uh-huh.
My argument is that in order to make Tooniverse still exist in the same plane of reality, even though it's a multiverse as our universe, it had to contract and expand. Like matter has to expand and contract. Like literally, that's part of it, right? Which is to say, I think that when those little ghouls become mist or whatever, they're literally expanding or contracting, whichever one, their matter in such a way that they're no longer visible. And I don't think it affects where a person's soul or talent must go. I think it's just more convenient symbolism, because the actual magic that's going on here is defying the limits of matter and energy. You know what I mean? Like, this is an infinite regression that's what's going on in this movie.
I agree. If by little ghouls you mean Bupkis, not Bang
I
Pound
do mean
and
them.
Blanco.
Yes, I do mean them. I do not mean...
Two of whom are voiced by John DiMaggio, which is funny because Futurama also has famously only one other multiverse. It's the cowboy hat universe.
That's all?
I hate this. I hate all
That's
of this.
all?
Wait, you had all kinds of theories we rode along for.
For
a
long segments of this podcast.
Rotely naming Animaniacs.
I think Abe's the asshole, which means, weirdly, in
No, I'm just
retrospect, Adam genuinely
I just really like Disney.
appreciates
I
Disney.
just really like them.
Yeah.
No, it's true. It's true.
I just really like that.
I think you can just put it in, like, you can put their talent wherever. Like, once you suck their juice out, it
goes
you
wherever.
can put it wherever.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Where's the slurp
It goes
juice go? Yeah.
Did I ever tell you that John
can I ask
DiMaggio once literally stole a cigarette from me? That happened at a baseball
nice.
game. Yeah, I
What
was
an honor.
Stole.
I was at a Dodgers game. I set down my
Like,
pack of cigarettes to go do something, and he was standing there. And when I came
just
back,
took
he
one?
had one in his mouth. He's like, "You mind?" I was like, "I guess I don't, man."
Nice.
You know what I mean?
That's a good move.
I
I
guess,
guess I don't.
Yeah.
That's power move. He's
Uh,
like, he probably
Oh, of
knows
course,
who
I
am.
absolutely knew he was.
Can I sort of boggle
Yeah.
you guys and ask the probing questions that we haven't already
ready.
discussed? I've been
Uh-huh.
I've been crossing them out as they've been covered. Taz at one point, Tasmanian Devil busts out of a mailbox and just says basketball.
Yes.
What were his prior circumstances?
Why was he
Great
in there?
question.
Yeah, what was he doing before? Tampering with the
Checking-
mail or just
checking
stuff out?
for letters, dude.
Right.
Keeping
I
up,
don't,
keeping
I
up
don't know
with
if
his
he can
correspondence.
respond. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he can write anything. It's just a
Writing
squiggle
his
in a
mother.
circle, probably much like a tornado. And he probably doesn't have anything of substance to say, because when has he had anything to say? But he likes to,
True.
seem like he's doing it.
I'm far from the first person to point this out, but it does seem especially egregious in Space Jam because Lola Bunny is made sexy as hell. Like, to the point that Bugs gets stiff
Yeah,
when
he does.
interacts with her
Yeah, he does.
and clatters to the floor. And at the end, he kisses her non-consensually, but it's okay because it turns out
She
she's
kissed
into
him
it.
first,
She's way into it.
non-consensually. Just to be clear,
Oh,
that
okay.
happened in the
All right.
movie.
I missed
I'm not
that, just to
arguing
be
with
clear.
it. Anyway,
But my real point is that she's fully dressed, and later
She's nude,
they pants a Monstar, and the Monstar is embarrassed. So Toons
Right.
are capable of being nude, which means Bugs Bunny is just wearing white dinner
It's
clothes.
just nude.
yep, that's
Yeah.
right.
And
Just
she's fine
a guy
with it.
with white
She's
gloves.
totally
Yeah.
into it. She just likes clothes. I want to take a step back though, because like here's the thing about the Monstar drop and trowel,
Mhm.
like in the game, or that he gets pantsed.
Yeah,
15,000 people at least just saw Monstar Dong.
Oh yeah,
yeah, right.
No one's
And it's gotta be
talking about that.
pretty
That's not a
impressive,
cultural moment. What do you think it looks like? Is my
Well,
question.
because Bugs has fur, so you can even buy, all right, I guess his dick's all tucked up in the fur like my dog or a squirrel or whatever. But the Monstars are flesh. They are fleshy creatures.
flesh.
There's
You can see
dong
the
down there.
buttholes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
or
it's-
whatever genitals
I think it's
they have.
basically
Yeah.
a plump pitchfork. You know, like it's just
I think it's like that
Yeah.
movie Border. It's a little fleshy crab claw.
like a thick,
a thick pitchfork. Yeah.
Thickened
Yeah, just
pitchfork.
dangling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of clothes,
Swaying.
Michael Jordan dons a Toon Squad jersey, even though the previous sequence was all about how it was incredibly important that he couldn't play except in his own lucky shorts. And then he immediately switches to Toon
Underneath, he
Squad
wears them
merch.
underneath. He says.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
there's
okay.
a thing
All
about
right,
Jordan.
all right.
Yeah.
All right, fine, you got me. I'm the asshole. Third close question.
He's not. He just doesn't know about
All
Michael
of the
Jordan, that's
Monstars
all.
jersey numbers are 0. How do they keep meaningful stats?
That's a good point.
That's
Huh?
the biggest problem
Sports.
in the movie.
Sports ball.
Sport. You just got.
That's the biggest
you just-
one.
Right.
You did it.
That's the.
That one nailed
Actually, my biggest problem in the whole movie is a Monstar line, which is the line, it's defeating time, boys.
Yeah, that's bad.
Terrible.
That
Bad
shit wouldn't
line.
have happened in
Bad
Aladdin.
line.
You know,
Defeat.
like Robin
Yeah.
Williams
All
would
right.
not have let that go.
All right.
No chance.
That's
You
all.
settle
That's all
down.
my problems
Yeah.
with Space Jam. Man, what a fun movie to rip apart because it's so ripe and it deserves it.
It's chaos.
Yeah,
It's
it's absolute
utter-
madness.
like even my capitalist, Marxist critique of Space Jam interpretation. It's like, why? Why would you do this? I don't understand who's driving. It feels like it's
What's
like,
to gain? Who's gaining here? Yeah.
is it just fucking assholes on a typewriter? Just fucking typing
funny 'cause,
nonsense for eternity.
Thinking a little bit about Space Jam 2, which I know we're not covering now. Space Jam 2 is trying a lot harder to be a competent movie than this one is. You know what I mean?
I ain't seen it, so I can't
I
say.
think it is.
Which is
Like
even
it has
worse.
a much deeper conflict. And even though it's very cynical, as Abe was sort of making allusions to, it's extremely cynical. The kind of cynicism you don't see in the Mouse. You don't see that. But
in the mouth.
it's still like
House of
competent and clear and resolves threads. And they go through an actual journey to solve problems with strategies and stuff. Like Jordan, they don't even start the game till like the 50th minute, right? So it's like 37 minutes of them playing the game. And like they're not really in any, like the stakes are very low until he gambles. Once he gambles, the stakes kind of go up, you know, because it's like, you know what? We'll play for my
true.
life now instead of just the Toon's lives.
And he gambles.
Yeah.
Again, I just can't get over that the screenwriters picked as the imagery. He gambles for his freedom, and they cut to imagery of him in wrist shackles and chains, being forced to play
Signing
for the
autographs,
amusement
yeah.
of like aliens who come from far away. It's just such a weird thing to put on on the movie.
It's really
Yeah,
weird. I mean,
it
I know people are going to be saying, wait a minute. The Toons were also playing for their lives and stuff. And it's like, okay, but only because they agreed to play by the aliens' rules arbitrarily. You know what I mean? And I feel like the movie knew that was a problem. That's why we needed the gambling in the first place, is to make actual stakes happen in this game. Otherwise,
Utter
it was just like
chaos.
sort of a bunch of nonsense. You know, like for instance, if the Toons were actually trying to fight for their own lives, they would have trained. They would have tried to become good at basketball. Nobody needed to tell them that.
Yeah, the stakes aren't respected. That's
Right.
the
Instead,
thing.
they got better at doing Toon stuff. That's actually their success, is not getting better at the sport of basketball, but for him to become more like them. Like the things that they do that benefit them are do a Pulp Fiction reference and shoot the teeth out of an opponent. Like
Yes.
they're not, it's not drilling and doing wind sprints and shit, right? So it's that MJ needed to become a little more toony to get back to get his groove back.
That's correct.
I also love that we're all refusing to see this as a children's film. And it's like every gesture, it's like, what the fuck does that mean? Explain yourself, Space Jam.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
But it does haunt me a little bit.
Yeah. I'll
It's
tell
like
you, it
Wayne Knight
haunts
getting
me.
inflated.
It haunts me
Haunts
that
me.
Bill Murray says girl bunny and boy bunny at the end. Bill Murray doesn't fucking recognize Bugs Bunny. His career is based on Bugs Bunny. Like, I don't. It doesn't
That's
make any
right.
sense.
It feels
to me.
like
I
people
think it is
would
nonsense.
people would flip out if they got to meet Bugs in real life.
You'd think he'd go,
Like, oh my God,
Bugs,
what an honor.
to meet you,
Exactly.
bro."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they do.
And
yeah,
that would be funny.
They do know him from our universe. They make that very clear.
Right.
Yeah, that's a strange omission.
Yeah, Jordan's kids
Yeah.
love Bugs
Well,
Bunny.
if he knows, Michael Jordan wakes up and goes, Bugs? He already knows who he is.
right,
You know? So
right.
there's
That's
no,
true.
it's a weird gap of memory. I totally agree.
I think, again, hell takes
Hell runneth
memories
over
from
and
you.
all the devils are here.
It steals your memories and puts them in a basketball.
Hmm.
This is a horrifying movie.
It's pretty scary stuff. I think we should wrap up and split from this
I
creepy
agree.
dimension.
Just
That's my thought.
Just one last
Mhm.
comment. Again, if they had put Magic as the star of this instead of Jordan, think they could have.
All right, so this is
They
actually your
could've-
asshole bit, is you just harp on this.
He's just saying how it
could be better if they
But
I'm
he's
not
not
wrong, because
wrong.
they could have worked Fatburger into it and all of his movie theater franchises. There's so many
Well,
things,
that-
you know. Also, he wouldn't have had to like go back to basketball because he was just good at business. You know what I mean? So like the entire Space Jam could have been about him building his business empire. I think he was really doing. Just pointing that out. That's all.
Ooh,
That's true.
just like
Yeah.
man, there used to be Junior Seau had a restaurant in San Diego called Seau's.
Did he really? I did not know that.
Do it about that.
No,
Do it about that.
no.
What's the next
Oh my
segment,
God.
Portal Pal?
It's recovering from that conversation.
Let's close this wormhole. So we're gonna decide. I forget. This is just like the rest of this podcast is just chaos to me. We're gonna merge this with our universe. We're gonna
Yeah.
close the portal.
Do we
or
want
we're
to
gonna
stay in this universe,
switch
or do we want to?
and live in the film?
Yeah.
I don't.
No,
So
it
are we
makes
gonna
total
live there?
sense
Are
to
we
me.
gonna stay in our universe, or are we gonna merge them together?
Totally makes sense to me.
Okay.
Live there, because if we combine them, then I actually think the contrast between the two, or their contextual connections, does render Looney Tune verse a hellscape. But that's only through human eyes. Like, I would just live in Looney Tune verse, because if our universe didn't exist and we weren't forced to perform for an outside universe, we were just living in Toonland, as we just discussed, even